welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present, mostly large sharks, and we'll get started right away. We're going to head over to Port South Marina, which is in Orphalinnet Bay, New Caledonia. The date, May 25th, 2019. Anthony Larrouy, he is 10 years old. He and his sister are jumping off of their boat and swimming off the back of the boat, so they're repeatedly jumping into the water, it sounds like, and he ends up being attacked by a shark. His father immediately jumps into the water, gets him up and into the boat and gets him in to help. He ended up with the right leg severed. He was bitten in the groin and lost his testicles and had anus damage. And he also had a gash to his abdomen. And they ended up being able to save him. He did end up surviving extensive surgeries, I'm sure. I don't know how many he probably had to go through. I couldn't even guess. But the shark had ended up staying around and was swimming around the boat while it was there. So they must have taken him for help. They were at the marina and left the boat there. And the shark swam around until somebody finally hooked it. And then the police shot it dead. So they ended up killing the shark. A 4-meter, which is as large as they come, a bull shark, ended up trying to eat this kid. So we're going to put it down as an attack and an attempt to predate, even though it's not a fatality. And now we head over to Stockton Beach, which is New South Wales, Australia. The date is October 21st, 2004. John Greshem is 59 years old. Him and his sons are out doing some surfing, and they're just past the breakwater waiting on a wave. And it sounds like John is sitting on the board because he says something hit his leg in a rush. So it sounds like the shark hit him in the leg. He said he was moving his leg just at the right time. So it sounds like the leg got bit, but not as bad as it would have been if he would have been hit. Then shortly after that, he pulled his leg up and put himself up on the board. The board was lifted out of the water. He said about 4 feet. That would seem a little bit high for the type of shark that they said did it. But then the shark, disappeared, and his sons had already caught a wave in. He caught a wave in. He had lacerations to his leg. They were quickly sewn up, and he survived that attack. They said it was from a bronze whaler about 8 feet. So there's a bronze whaler attack. We haven't gotten into too many of those, but there's one on John Gresham, an attack, not an attempt to predate. And now we're going to head over to the west side of Reunion Island to a spot called St. Lou. The date is August 5th, 2012. Fabien Bujon is 39 years old, and he's been out surfing for about 30 minutes. It's coming up on 5:15 in the afternoon, and he is attacked by a shark. He gets himself back onto his board and is able to get himself into shore, where a doctor is on shore, and he immediately puts a tourniquet on his right arm and his right leg. The shark had severed both his right foot and his right hand, and he was taken in, and he survived the attack. They said that it was done by a bull shark. They don't say what size the shark, but they did say that in August, because this happened August 5th, Recife had announced that they were going to catch 10 bull sharks and 10 tiger sharks. I guess to see, which one had ended up taking his hand or leg, or foot, I should say. But, I don't see what the goal there is. I don't see what that's going to accomplish other than kill 10 sharks of each species. So that's our story of Fabien Bujon, an attack, an attempt to predate. And the bull shark took his foot, probably took his hand in a defensive move, but he was lucky to be able to get back onto his board. The smaller bulls, when they're around 6 feet, people get away from them pretty often. Sometimes they don't, like Friedrich Bergstaller, who is in waist-deep water, and he just kept getting attacked over and over. It was a smaller shark. It was one of the smallest sharks we've had a fatality from, 6-foot bull, but that can happen. So that's our story, an attack and attempt to predate by a bull shark. And then we're going to head over to Acapulco, Mexico, to Acapulco Beach. The date, April 4th, 1973. John Nicholls is 45 years old, and he's out for a swim. He gets himself into about thigh-deep water at 6 o'clock in the evening, and witnesses hear him yell shark twice, and they look over to see that he's struggling with something in the water, and the water around him turning red as he starts to bleed. The shark gets him off his feet and starts, like they do, I'm thinking it's 100% a bull shark, drags him off into deeper water, because that's what they always want to do with you. He drags him off into deeper water, and now witnesses are seeing 3 dorsal fins cutting through the water towards him, and he disappears. About 2 hours later, he washes up on the beach, but in pieces, in 3 pieces. He washes up at 3 different spots on the beach. Totally devastating to him. No description of what washed up on the beach. Maybe I'll try to find that. I mean, I looked at a bunch of different stories and couldn't see exactly what had washed up. But that's our story of him. We're going to put it down as an attack and a predation by 3 bull sharks on 1 victim. Okay, we're going to finish on our unprovoked attacks over in West Australia at a spot called Left-Handers. That's south of Gracetown. The date, July 10th, 2004. Bradley Smith is 29 years old. He and some friends are out doing some surfing. It gets just past 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't say how far from shore they are. When Bradley is attacked by a shark, it immediately bites his board in half, and doing so knocked him off the board. And witnesses say as soon as he's knocked off the board, a second shark had leapt out of the water, breached, and got him right at that point. And from that moment on, his friends are saying that he was seen fighting the shark off. So he's throwing his fists at the sharks as they're coming at him over and over for about 45 seconds, they say. And then the shark takes him under, and they have to wait until they get the body recovered a little bit later. The damage to it is too great. He had passed away pretty early in this one. He had massive damage to his pelvis, to his abdomen, major bite to a leg, and other torso injuries. So the shark chewed him up pretty good. I would call it an attempt to predate on this one, Bradley Smith. His friend said it was the worst thing that he ever seen. The shark knocked him off the board. A second shark had hit him, and then all of a sudden other sharks are just coming at him. They had said that they thought the other sharks were a bull and whaler, a bronze whaler is what witnesses were saying, but marine biologists were saying they doubt that those sharks, which, they run 13, 14 feet max, there's no way they're going to be around a large great white that's feeding. I agree with them. I don't think that that's the case. If it's 2 sharks, it's 2 whites. Maybe a large tiger would do it, but I don't think you're going to mistake a tiger dorsal or tail fin for a great white, whereas a bull shark's dorsal fin and a white shark's dorsal fin, they can be pretty easily swapped. So I'd agree with that. The friends had to be treated for shock after seeing what they saw. They all had to be taken in and treated. So that's our story of Bradley Smith, an attack and an attempt to predate by a white shark. Okay, we're going to finish out our show with What Were You Thinking? We're going to head over to the Charles Street Wharf, which is New South Wales, Australia. The date is February 26th of 1996. Darren Good, 24 years old, he decides he's going to do some drinking with his buddies, and they're at the wharf, and he has bet $80 that he could swim out to a pole 30 meters from shore and back. And he swims out to the pole, he strips naked, swims out to the pole, and he's swimming back, and he is bit by a shark. He's bit in the left leg that does some major damage to his left leg, but one of the teeth, it sounds like, ended up getting him in the right testicle, and he lost his testicle. They had to replace the testicle, and they had to sew him up from these wounds. 50 stitches. They say they think that it was a bronze whaler shark. But what were you thinking? It's nighttime, so you're going to swim out 30 meters to something at a time when sharks like a bronze whaler are definitely feeding. That's just bad news, and then you lose that over it. I mean, that's worse than losing an arm, in my opinion. Wondering if he lost his breath in the process. But what were you thinking, Darren? You don't do that. So, I mean, well, you were drinking. So I have said that if I was drinking at that mall, I might have been the one bit by that shark. So we'll blame that one on alcohol. And alcohol's the idiot in that situation. So that's our story of Darren Good. Another attack, another crazy situation. Kind of like the Mark Meeker, I think he was bet $20 it was to swim across Tampa Bay, and he was bit in the calf by, not a major size shark, probably 6-7 foot shark. Took a chunk of his calf, totally survivable, but he was by himself, so he drowned. Luckily, this wasn't fatal, and they were able to, replace his testes and sew him up, and he was, I guess, good to go. So that's our story at Darren Good, 24 years old. That's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back in a couple more days with another show, but if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.